for sexism and racism. Our next guest believes hip-hop should get back to its roots of political activism and shine a positive light on the community. So he's organized a lecture with a former hip-hop star to spread the word. Rad Dockery joins us in studio. So first of all, Rad, before we get into who you invited here and why do you think hip-hop has lost its way?
Why it's lost its way, no one really knows exactly why, but what's happened with hip-hop is it's become so commercialized. Where hip-hop had balance back then in the 80s and early 90s, you had the fun song and the serious song. Hip-hop's now become the same grind, thug image, negative imagery. What changed that? Probably money, probably more exposure and fame, but we do know that the impact's negative.
You know, it's interesting that you mentioned that, because I guess it's a chicken and an egg thing too, right? You know, is this coming from record labels? Is this coming from what the community wants? What's your sense?
The sense is supply and demand, very simple. If I control supply, what are you going to know what you want to buy? So if you only want to buy, if I'm going to give you one form of music and one element of that music, how do you know there's other options out there? When I have to dig 40 minutes to find one song I really like, where I could find the other songs being played on the radio 7, 8 times in a half day. So is that really the case of the audience demanding that? I don't think so. It's more of a case of we want you to have only red ties. You'll never see a blue tie.
But why do you think, I mean, I don't know if you can get in the heads of record labels, but why do you think they would want to push this kind of thug image that exists in a lot of hip-hop music?
Well, if you look at what hip-hop did in the 80s, it was revolution. If you were a hip-hop fan, you were someone who was going against the system. You spoke against, I'm going to do things differently. And it created a whole rebellion, a sense of pride amongst a lot of individuals.
And it was positive.
And it was positive. And there was balance. So it created individuals like myself. That's why I'm here, because of hip-hop. So if they created all this groundswell amongst young people at the time, maybe the companies were thinking, you know what, we can't have this, because now you have a lot of young millionaires and billionaires who don't need a 9-to-5 job anymore because of hip-hop. So what hip-hop has done, I mean, the attack on hip-hop is really an attack on the roots of the problems that are in the communities out there. And why record labels would do this, I really don't know why they would do this, but it seems quite obvious that you had all this positivity and good vibes in the community, and now you don't.
And you've invited a guest star here to Toronto to talk all about this. Tell us about this and about his message over snitching, because that is a raging debate in the hip-hop community, right?
It's a raging debate in the hip-hop community, but people are acting as if hip-hop created this. Back in the old days in the Westerns, when the cowboys were here, I mean, if the baddest cowboy shot somebody and said, I'm going to kill your mother next, everyone in the neighborhood was quiet. So hip-hop's really projecting what's wrong in the community. We agree that if someone shot my mother, I want them arrested. But at the same time, hip-hop also addressed the fact that people are afraid of the justice system. Hip-hop used to speak about that. Now we just hear the other side of it, stop snitching, but no one's saying why.
So what's Professor Griff's message of Public Enemy on this issue?
Their opinion is we have to have justice. If someone kills your mother, as a community, we must have justice. But at the same time, Public Enemy does talk about the fact that we must have mechanisms in place to protect witnesses, to ensure that when they speak up, their mother don't end up in the grave.
It makes so much sense, what you're saying. Do you have hope, though, that in the future, that as you wish, hip-hop will get back to its positive roots?
You're starting to see elements of it come back, and events like we're doing tonight at Ryerson are a perfect example of that. So we have massive response. We've had a lot of local media attention. We're here on CBC. So you can see that there is a movement to bring it back, to take back the music. And it's going to happen. It's just a matter of time, but now you're in a different age. In the 80s when I was a kid, there were no iPods, no ringtones, no YouTube, no Facebook. Now there is. So now you have to compete with that. Now you got to take those elements and get into those elements to bring hip-hop back to a balance. We're not saying it's all political, but it has to be a balance in hip-hop.
Rad, great to talk to you about this. Thanks a lot.
Thank you for your time.
And